Hello, everybody. Welcome and thank you for joining us for our webinar today. My name is Brad Vorbeck. I work in marketing here at Turnkey Technologies, and I've got Wendy Enke with me today. She's our functional consultant here at Turnkey, and she's going to be talking about Sage Intacct and how your accounting system that you currently have might be holding you back, and why Sage Intacct is a recommended solution for businesses that are trying to move to something more robust, particularly in terms of things like ease of implementation, accounting features that accountants and CFOs both love, and just the ease of use of the solution in general. Wendy's going to go into that a bit further, but first I want to tell you a little bit about Turnkey Technologies. We are a business solutions provider. We're a Sage Intacct and Microsoft partner focused primarily on ERP software solutions, so finance and operations, and getting businesses up and running on newer solutions, primarily cloud-based, and modernizing their business processes. We've been in business since 1994. We got about 50 plus employees here at Turnkey. Wendy, would you want to go ahead and change it to the next slide? We can show them some details.
Sure.
And we've got 3 offices. Our headquarters is here in St. Louis. We've also got one in Chicago and another office in Denver as well. We offer comprehensive services for the solutions we provide. That includes requirements planning, implementation, licensing, and ongoing support and all that good stuff. So pretty much anything revolving around your solution, we are your go-to partner there. So this webinar is being recorded. We will send that out tomorrow in a follow-up email for you, as well as the PowerPoint. And then if you have any questions during the webinar, please do feel free to ask those. There should be a questions panel for you to use in your go-to webinar panel, and we will get those answered at the end in a Q&A session. So with that said, I will go ahead and hand it off to Wendy. Wendy, you want to take it away?
Yes, thank you, Brad. Welcome, and trying to cheer up what is a gloomy August day today. So when we put this together, one of the things we had in mind was the fact that still so many accountants, and I'm a CPA, so I've actually had to do the work before, are still struggling with systems that require them to export data into spreadsheets, and they have to have it, they have to be at a certain desktop to do it. It's hard to check reports. Reports are still coming out in Excel form or put in PDF form. So we wanted to offer what I think is a great solution, and I say this as a CPA and accountant, and also just wanted to let you know that Sage Intacct is the only AICPA recommended product, and that's because of its robustness combined with its user friendliness. So we're just going to today dive right in. So we're going to ask some questions. What if accounting didn't require spreadsheets? And everyone I know right now still does a lot of their reporting in spreadsheets. But what if you didn't have to do everything in spreadsheets? What if you could access your reports anywhere? I often tell the story of how I got involved with Sage Intacct, and that was my brother-in-law, who is part of a not-for-profit in New York City. And he was actually able to pull up on his tablet all of his reports, his dashboards, his key performance indicators, graphs, everything he could just from a tablet anywhere. So think about the freeing aspect of being able to access your reports from anywhere. And I put a cruise ship because we all like to take vacations. So another what if. What if your accounting looked a little bit more like this, where people are sharing, collaborating, as opposed to this? Everybody I know still has hard copies for the auditors or document systems, but what if it was all contained within your system? So the last question is, what if your accounting system told a story instead of being the story? Everywhere we go, we hear all sorts of stories about the horrible experiences with accounting systems, the fact that everything has to be exported and combined and tweaked in Excel. So really the object of your accounting system is to tell the story. Where are you? Where have you come from? And where are you going? So actually I went too far. So let's just head right into Sage Intacct, and what I'm going to do is show you a lot of the key features in this very user-friendly type environment, but know that behind these easy features, there's a lot of strength. So I'm going to go right over to Sage Intacct and show you a couple of different things that are available right out of the box with Sage Intacct, and everything I'm showing you today will actually be part of the core solution, which means that I'm not going to be showing you anything that is not included. So the first thing just to point out is it is a full system. So out of the box, you get pre-configured dashboards, which is what we're looking at right here. This is what's called a pre-configured dashboard. If we scroll down on it, you'll see that it has revenue graphs, it has financial statements, it has everything. And what's unique about this is nobody had to create these. Pardon me, I'm going to move this box out of the way 1 second for the webinar. And so if we go there, we're just looking at something where we can see everything at a glance. If we go to another dashboard, here's another example of a dashboard. And each of these, like I said, all of these are coming out of the box if we just want to look at the different dashboards. And these are easy to create as well. So out of the box, you get pre-configured dashboards. You get pre-configured financial reports and financial graphs, which means that they're already set up and you're not having to go hire a consultant to create those. The other good news is the system is so user-friendly that it's very unlikely that anybody actually has to go and have these created by a consultant. Their system is user-friendly. Adding things to a dashboard is quite easy. Switching between dashboards is also quite easy. So you can have a dashboard that's set up, say, for your employee, and the employee goes in and adds expenses or adds purchasing transactions that are waiting for approval, or you can go back at a high level and just look at what's called a controller dashboard. So I think what's exciting for a lot of people is we come from a world where everybody's used to having consultants who have to create dashboards, create reports. But here's a system where right out of the box, you are set to go, and with a minimum amount of configuration, you're up and running. So you'll notice that we have everything from order entry to sale, to the normal accounts payable, inventory, cash management, purchasing, and then even the platform services. The client comes with that, so that if you're using another ISV or an add-on or a marketplace product that goes along with it, you have the ability to integrate with them pretty seamlessly. So let's start on the dashboard here, and let's just see what it is, what a day in the life of an accountant could be or might be. So again, I'm doing this as a controller, and one of the first things that you're going to notice is up at the top here, you have the ability to do what's called sliding in and out of entities. So what that means for you is if you have multiple companies or multiple entities, legal entities, you can not only do the work at the top level, but you could also choose to slide in, and if you notice up across the top, it opens another browser. I can now work in just the Texas company if I want. They are in the sample company, they're using this as a location, but this could very well be a separate entity. What does that mean to you? It means to you that if you have 5 companies and they use the same chart of accounts and they share customers and vendors, at the top level, you can set that all up once. And all of the entities, you can choose which entities have access to which. However, if you have 5 entities and they're all different, with different charts of accounts, different customers, different inventory items, different purchase order types, you don't have to leave the system to do that. You don't have to log out and log in. I, as a controller, can sit here and work right in the controller dashboard, which is at the top level, and I can have an employee in the Texas company working on their own system at that level. But yet at the top level, every time they post something, I can see at the top level all of the changes that are being made, and it's all in real time. So there's no more delay, there's no more having to wait to close the month, because really what's happening is it's all happening right in real time. So therefore, if you're the controller and you're off on vacation and it's month end and you finished your part, you're waiting on some of those, you can pull up your tablet and go ahead and look, make some journal entries, look at your report, make the entries you need, and come right back and you are finished. So again, this is accessed from anywhere, and it uses dual authentication. So it's not as if you have to worry about somebody getting in and logging in without it. It's compatible with almost every browser. They have differences, of course, but any browser that you have will authenticate your login, and it does it via your login, and it also does it via a code that comes to you, sort of like a token. So if I were to pull open this report here, and I'm going to look at this income statement by detail dashboard, and let's say I wanted to make this bigger, I can actually look at this report here, and I can look at a sales line. And if we pull open this report, which is where actually, whoops, I'm sorry, I did the wrong thing. Pardon me. You recognize these blue fields. These are drill downs, and because I drilled down on the sales line, it actually took me to what is contained within sales. What I really wanted was the numbers. So now if I were looking at, if I scroll across, and I know this is probably really small, so if it is, somebody go ahead and tell Brad, and I will actually make this a little bit bigger. If I wanted to look at the numbers for California, or I wanted to look at Texas, you'll notice that I have one report, and I can look at the sales numbers for Texas here. And what happens is it opens right up, and I have a list of all of those sales transactions. What's nice about this is, you notice I'm not having to export this into Excel. This is actually part of, it's just another window that pops open, and therefore I can look down and drill even farther. So if I want to know what was in the detail here, I can highlight a number and I can drill down. And what it's going to tell me is, again, I'm doing all of this real time. I'm not having to have somebody export it to a spreadsheet and look it up later. I'm coming in and it's telling me that there were invoices and these were the numbers that they hit. So I'm actually going to move, I'm sorry, I apologize. I have to move this out of the way. The GoToMeeting is kind of taking up a lot of space here, so I'm trying to move it out of the way. I know you can't see it, but I can. So now what I can do is I can scroll up to the top of this report, and I can see that this was a batch of journal entries. And if I wanted to drill down again one more time, I could actually, you'll notice that it took me right into the invoices screen. I can actually pull up and view this actual invoice, and I can scroll down and I can see when it's due. I can look at the information. I can look at the bill to, the ship to. I have the ability to attach the, which isn't here, but attach the original invoice via scan-in to this document, and I have all of my information here. So what it becomes is it becomes one version of the truth for you. Again, you're not stopping and creating spreadsheets. You're not stopping and having somebody go pull the data. You're actually working in the data real time. Beyond that, there's actually other real exciting stuff, I think, if we're looking at in the world of accounting, and that's the ability to do snapshots of time. So for instance, let's say you're having a meeting with the executives and somebody says, well, where were we a year ago? Well, instead of having to go pull up some reports and look at a year ago or pull more data, what I can do is I can go to the as of view, I can highlight it, and I can click the day. Today is the 23rd, and I can go ahead and choose apply. And what happens to my dashboard is my dashboard actually goes back in time. So while I'm right in the middle of a meeting, if a question comes up, I can simply come here to the system. I can pull up the data as of last year, and then we look at it and we can say, well, the G&A expenses for this month were down. So now if I want to find out what made up the G&A expenses, again, I can pull this up in real time. This is from last year, but any adjustments that were made, I can simply highlight the number that I want to see. You notice that the labels were also highlighted, and the reason those are highlighted is because if you wanted more information about what makes up sales or what makes up that group, you can drill down on it. So here's an example. I'm looking at a bill, and this brings up something else that's pretty exciting that I like, and that's the ability to do dimensions. Dimensions are other ways to tag your data so that you don't need a very large chart of accounts. As you know, in the old days when we used to do charts of accounts, we would have strings and we would have what we called things like segments. Well now, and because of that, our chart of accounts would be very large. But with dimensioning now, you'll notice that as we look here, you'll see that it's taken it and split it down, and it's saying this account, 6150 office expense, We've broken it down by location, but if we wanted to drill down even farther, we could drill down again, and let's look what's down here. So now it has location, but it also has department, and it also has the ability to do an allocation. So an allocation is simply a way or a rule of spreading out something that goes against one account across dimensions. So for example, if you had advertising expenses, you could spread it out, or in this case, office expenses. You could take and enter one bill if you were doing centralized purchasing, and you could allocate it down to the different entities or locations, and it allows you to do that quickly and seamlessly. So let's go back up just a little bit. So I wanted to show you how easy this is, and then if you had a question about the actual label, what it's going to tell you is that it's made up of an account that if it's health insurance, this is the account number. It's going to give you different information about it and even allow you to see what it's going to close into. So in anywhere that you are in the system, and it's all security-based, so if somebody doesn't have security to look at that information, they wouldn't be able to, but you have one version of the truth right at your fingertips. You can drill down. And then you say, well, that's nice, but how hard is it to actually create these or edit these? Well, it's not. And that's where the whole user-friendliness comes in. Sage Intacct is sort of like owning an iPhone in the sense that you get all of the basics out of the box, but then you can add apps and make configuration changes. So let's, for example, say that I wanted to look at another expense type. So just showing you how easy this is to do, I could create, let's say, a chart, and I can just choose my sales by product line if I want to, and I can come down, let me just scroll down a little. I'm just going to show you how easy it is to do. I don't know whether there'll be data in there, but I'm going to go ahead and choose Save. I'm going to try to choose Save. All right. And you'll notice what just popped up. If you look over here to the left and it's still panning out, it's actually pulling in my sales by product line, and I just created that just now on the fly. I can also change the date back if I want to change the date back. So I'm going to change this back to 2019, and I'm going to go ahead and clear it. Actually, all I have to do is hit clear, and it'll take a moment, and it should be pulling back in. Now, you'll notice some of these reports they're as of today, some of them won't be. There might not be any sales in here. So I know that there, for example, is probably sales back in 2016. Again, I can sit there and filter in on it, but you can see that I just added that to my dashboard. If I don't want it, I can simply delete the component off the dashboard. It still exists as a report in the system, but it's not on my dashboard. So how does that make your life easier? Well, it makes your life easier because you can manage at a top level, but you can have people entering data at a lower level. So if this, for example, was a purchaser, they have the ability to, and pardon while it paints here, they have the ability to look at their bills analysis, and then this is by vendor, I believe. So I can put, or these might be, yeah, these are by vendor numbers. And I can actually look at different receipts. So you see how this dashboard is completely different than the controller's dashboard. It allows us a whole new set of items. And the nice part is you can create your own dashboards right here, straight out of the box by adding it. And once you create it, you decide who has access to it, and then you start adding things to it. You can also change settings on how the dashboard is set up. But I think that the most important part is how easy it is to use and how easy it is to do reporting. So those are some of the real high-level key things that I think really make your life easier. And then as far as how does this, as I said, what if your accounting system tells a story as opposed to being the story? If you're able to prepare financials for a meeting and then go into the meeting with your tablet or your laptop and have people just ask you questions about, like I said, what happened last year, what happened this year, what makes up this account? Where did it go? You have the ability to pull that up. You also have the ability to create reports relatively quickly. You also have the ability to move them around. And the accounting is very, very simple in the sense. So I'm going to go back a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit about dimensions, because I think dimensions are one of the things that is really making this easy. So we do know that this is a cloud-based system, which means that it's hosted in the cloud, meaning off-prem. So you can access it from anywhere. It is also easy to customize, and it is also easy. I'm going to show you dimensions, and then the last thing we're going to show probably today is I'm going to go over and show you how easy it is to even do the imports and exports and the general things, like how do you get a query of current customers, or how do you know that, how can you do that without having to do it at a spreadsheet level. So in this case, if we look at this, Sage Intacct has, it has already dimensions that come preloaded, and then you can customize them. So these are typical dimensions here: customer, department, employee. What that means is, without adding anything to your chart of accounts, you can actually tag any of the transactions to these. So if you notice, this one has the project module loaded. You could do by project. You could do it by employee. And I will point out, project is not part of the core, but not everybody needs it. But these allow me then to set up, if I just click down here on department, if you look at this, this allows me to set up, and that's not what I meant to go to. Let me scroll down a little bit. You actually can create departments and then tag them to their GL. So I'm going to go back out of the department here. Whoops. Got to let this refresh. And let's see what an easy journal entry would look like. So depending on how I have the system set up, it'll take just a moment. Pardon the slowness of it. We're on a demo system, and demo systems tend to be a little bit slower than your typical system. All right. And so now one of the other options I have is I can look at any of the transaction types within my general ledger. So let's just look at a general journal. So we're just going to go ahead and view the transactions. And these journal names are what we think of as batches or batch types. So if I want to look, here's a test journal entry that's out there, but it hasn't been posted yet. And remember me saying that each one of the screens, and I'll emphasize it again, can act as its own query. So in other words, instead of having to look at journal entries, you'll notice these are all by 2013. But what I could do is I can actually filter on the date, and I can look at a different date, or I can sort. So if I want to sort, it's sorting by number. But if I wanted to sort by date, I can simply come over here, and it's acting up. I can put in a date range. Let's say we'll just guess on a date, 08. And we're just going to say, I don't even know if there's data in there, but this is, again, how easy it is to use. I'm going to just do a filter on that one. I'm going to do a filter and hit enter, and it shows me there's nothing for that date. But it allows me to clear the filters. So I can go ahead and clear the filters and look at it again. So now you'll notice there's one in here for the that is as of August. This is an entry I put, and you notice it's in draft form. So because it's in draft form, I can just bring it up and make changes to it. It's not yet posted, but it's still accounted for in any of the reports. So here's one where we were just doing a test journal entry. And if I just go down below, you'll see that this one here is already dimensionalized. So if you look at this journal entry, you'll see here that it's hitting the main account of sales, which is all you need. If we scroll back over, you'll notice, though, hang on just a moment. Sorry about that. My phone is ringing. If you look here, you notice that it also gives you the ability to add the dimensions of department and location. Those are just in the DL. If you're entering things in the subledger, for instance, AR, it would let you, of course, it's putting it to a customer. So what does that mean? That means then that when you go back, I'm going to just go back to our dashboard here, and it'll ask me if I want to stay. I will also note that you can open multiple tabs of the same system so that you can work in two different areas. If you have one where you're working in purchasing and one where you're adding a vendor, you won't have separate windows that open, but you can always use separate browsers. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this thing here. All right. And let's say that I wanted to do a sort by, and I'm going to add here under the settings, and I'll show you how easy it is to use the settings. If we just look at the settings here, I can go under filters, and I can say what are my hang on just one second. I'm making sure that I'm still on the call. Okay, good. I just got a message. I wanted to make sure I was still on the call. Let's make sure. So, for instance, if we wanted to sort by, say, not just department and location, but say we wanted to do it by customer, I can change that. So I'm going to say save. And now what happens is if you look up here at the filters, you'll see, and they're very, very faint though, that I can do filters on this, and I could do it even on customers. So if I had something, I could actually add by active customers and apply, and then I'd be able to dimensionalize or look at a product line. You'll see this one was a product line, which I had out here. So we have a product line, and if I had data in there as of today, I could actually do filter this down even by customer. So it has the ability to slice and dice that data in any way that makes sense to you, and without spreadsheets, which makes it, to me, even more exciting because you're not having to take the time and download. So one of the questions that we asked was, what if your accounting system told a story rather than was the story? If you're able to go in and filter and enter data and look at it by the dimensions that you put in there, locations, departments, customers, projects, what happens is then it starts telling you a story. So we can see that sales were down. Why are sales down? We can see that expenses were also down, which is good, but we see that the gross product is down. We have the ability to go in and say, how are we doing in revenue by entity? And this graph, just so you know, is broken down both by location and by sublocation. So in this case, we have it broken down by, this one says donor A and B, or Texas, and we're breaking down those sales. If we click on that graph, we can actually see and break it out. We can actually see that what that number is. It's 36%. So again, it's telling a story. It's telling me what I need to know as opposed to me spending hours and hours trying to get the story out of it. How does that change your business? Well, it changes your business because instead of spending your time running reports, trying to get IT to pull reports for you, having IT create new reports, or having consultants create new reports, you're actually looking forward. You're saying, what does my business look like today, and what is the trend? Where is it going? How have we performed? And you're seeing that in real time. You're not having to change anything in order to see that. So one last thing before we are finished for today, and one of the things I really wanted to show you is the ability to actually use your system as a spreadsheet rather than having to download to a spreadsheet. So, pardon me, I'm just going to show you purchase requisitions. So normally to get purchase requisitions, you would have to download this into a spreadsheet. Well, you still can export it, and you can take it and export it into a variety of ways. Or you can use this particular screen as a spreadsheet, even down to the level where you can go in and create a new view. And a view is just how the fields are on here and how they're numbered. You can do the sort. You can, and then the other thing that's nice is you can even do an import. So if I had purchase requisitions that I needed imported rather than perhaps having to get IT involved, the system will give you a template every single time. You can hit download on the template, and if you just give it a minute, it's going to bring up the template for you. And wait while Excel opens. And we still get that lovely splash screen. And what happens is you get an up-to-date template. If you look here on the template, this is very small. What it tells you are all the fields that you can import. It will tell you whether they're required or not. And it will tell you what it's looking for, whether it's looking for a number or a string. How powerful is that? You don't really have to go and ask anyone for that data. It's right there and you can import it. And so what happens is, instead of spending your time with IT trying to get things, you can import that data because you have a template that's already there. You don't have to wait for someone. You can bring it right into the system. You can filter and sort on it. You can change what you're looking at. You can narrow it down to one vendor name. You can create your own views and have different view names for every view you want of this, and there's no more spreadsheets. So that's really all I had for today. If you have any other questions, we are more than happy to answer them. If you have further questions or you want to see more, Brad's going to give you that information, and we'll be happy to go into more detail with you or show you more detail or just help you find out what Sage Intacct can do for your company.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Wendy. If anybody has any questions at this time, do feel free to submit them. And in the meantime, Wendy, did you have anything else that you wanted to add before we go ahead and wrap up here?
I don't, except that there's a lot to show in the system, and so in 30 minutes it's very difficult. So if you think this is something you might be interested in, definitely go ahead, and we will be happy to set up a free demo and answer more questions for you, whatever works.
Okay, great. Well, thank you everybody for attending. Wendy, thank you so much for presenting for us today. Like Wendy said, please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions. We would love to help simplify your research if you're looking for a new accounting or ERP solution. We offer no charge, no obligation consulting sessions for ERP fit gap analysis, where we can quickly validate this solution for your goals and get you on the right path with your research. So please feel free to reach out to us. Again, thank you for joining us, and until next time, I hope everybody has a great day.